My name's Barry Stieb. I'm with HomeSmart Encore. I'm here with Kyle Hurley from North American Financial.
How you doing, Barry?
I'm well. Super excited to be doing our first podcast together.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about what happened in 2023. Kind of recap the year, if you will, and then talk about some of the stuff coming to Vegas, right? And then our predictions for 2024.
All right.
Sound like a plan?
Yeah, love it.
Awesome. Let's jump into kind of what happened for 2023. It was a bit of a crazy year, huh?
Yeah. 2023. I mean, almost had kind of the perfect storm the past couple of years, right? We had coming out of COVID and the pandemic and all-time low rates, all-time high on property values soaring, and all of those things. And 2023 was kind of the year to, I guess some would say, right the ship, right? So you saw values on homes really, really high. A lot of people thought we were going to see a crash. A lot of people thought they were going to lose a lot of equity. Housing prices were going to crash and all that. And safe to say, so far, we have not seen that, right? And I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward. So rates were all over the place. We saw them start tick up in 2022. We actually saw the highest in October of this year. We were all the way up to 8% at one point.
Yeah.
So, and that was the highest we've seen since 2000.
Wow.
So, really big swings in rates, but what's been nice, even though we saw the Fed continue to raise rates, we finally got some pauses, and now the predictions are cuts early next year.
Okay.
So I think a positive outlook. The term I've used is a regression to the mean, as opposed to inflation and deflation, right? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think what a lot of people did in this year and the past couple of years is they looked at 2020, 2021 as normal. And I don't think you can do that. I think you have to look at outliers and really analyze the data, look at the data as a whole, and try not to take a snapshot of any 3-6 month period or even 1-2 years. You really got to look at things as a whole. So, it was hard out there for a lot of people, but I think we all got through it, and I'm really optimistic and looking forward to the future too.
Yeah. And those 8% rates really helped to flatten out the market, because we were going through January through June, I believe it was. We were on track at that point, had gone up about 4% from January through June. And then since June, had very little movement, basically helped to flatten out the market. Yeah. Didn't see any of those decreasing prices that I think a lot of people were hoping for.
Right.
But we were up for the year. We ended up 5.5% for the year. So started in January, we were just under 400,000, 399 and change, and ended the year with the average price for Las Vegas, Henderson, and North Las Vegas over 421,000.
Yeah, and what I think a lot of it, what happened was when you look at really for the sellers at the end of the day, beginning of this year, sellers kind of still had that mentality of like, oh, I don't have to give seller credits, right? I can ask for more and more and more. And that's what we saw in the beginning. And then really when the rates shot up and they start to see the market kind of flatten out there, they started realizing, it's not that same kind of market anymore. And I mean, just between you and I, how many people, I think almost all of our transactions, they had seller concessions of some sort.
Yeah, we saw that consistently in the market. Very large seller concessions, especially in that October-November timeframe. We were getting consistently getting $10,000 to $15,000 in seller concessions.
Yeah.
Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the deal, but pretty consistent to see that. Do you think we're going to see that in 2024?
Honestly, I think so. I think that you're going to have some recency bias, right? When we see the first rate cut from the Fed, you'll have some more people coming into the market, right? And it's always a supply and demand thing. As more buyers come into the market, sellers don't feel like they have to give as much.
Sure.
But they're going to have, I think a majority of them too, are going to be trying to time the market correctly and perfectly, which, anyone who's in real estate, whether you're an investor or first-time home buyer, you can't time the market. Anytime you try to time the market perfectly, you end up losing out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think the seller concessions are here to stay for at least, the next 6-8 months or so. And then it really comes down to what the home values are doing. So I would predict they'll continue to rise. I would say rates come down. We're probably looking at the 5% range for the next year or so. I think it just kind of balances out that way. What people don't get is they expect 2020 to happen again. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, the real estate market, I think, was really kind of put on the map after 2020 and 2021. I mean, with our respective industries, look how many people just came into work in it.
Sure.
And
so many people leaving work to go to home, right? And that really pushed up demand. I mean, at least that's what we saw from our side was, you know, we saw a ton of increase in demand when COVID happened because people were like, well, I mean, I guess I'm working from home at least for a little while.
Exactly.
People got really attached to that. And so buyer demand really went up during that time frame.
Yeah. And, you know, I think we're going to see more people coming into the market. And the other important thing to remember is you have to look at Las Vegas as an individual and not really try to compare it to the rest of the country. It is a very unique market in Vegas, right? We're not in Dayton, Ohio. We're not in Florida. So Vegas has a lot of things that, with the different things that I'm sure we'll talk about coming to the city, that is going to drive more demand here. And I think that's going to help as a whole.
Yeah, I don't think there's any stopping the momentum that we have here in Vegas. I mean, if we want to talk a little bit about some of the things coming down the line. Yeah. I mean, well, let's talk about some of the things that already came, right? Yeah. So Fontainebleau. Huge. I mean, the grand opening I wasn't there for the grand. Have you been yet? Have you been to Fontainebleau?
I have not. So do you know the whole story and transition?
Oh yeah, man. That's crazy. So I'm actually really up on, and maybe I have some of the details wrong, so I'd love to bounce this off you. But my understanding was that the gentleman that started the project, he had secured 4 $250 million loans, right? Was 75% completed, was on track. Everything was good in budget. Everything was good. Yep. But that was 2008. Exactly. And so when he went to get his fourth installment, that was supposed to be the Bank of America. Again, this is the details that I've heard and what I remember. Bank of America said, no, we're not going to give you that $250 million. We're not going to let you finish the project. Of course, that then project, worth approximately $750 million, went to auction. Yep. Carl Icahn ended up buying it for $160 million.
Man, want to talk about a great real estate investment?
Buys it for $160 million in, I think that was 2011.
Yeah, right.
2010, 2011. Yeah. So buys it for $160 million. He proceeds to sell probably 10 to 20 million. I'm just guessing, maybe 5, at least couple $1 million worth of stuff that was in the hotel, right? So it takes off, sells the furnishings, sells the TVs, because that's how far along they were. A lot of people don't realize that they were starting to already build out floors. Yeah. And so buys it for $160 million. It then sold to the buyer before this one right now, right?
Yeah, and the hedge fund out of New York.
Yeah. And he sold it for like $600 million, $660, something like that.
Did nothing.
Yeah, just sat on it.
Nothing to it.
Sat on it for 9 years.
Yep.
Went from $160 million to $660 million.
Yeah.
And then the gentleman that just took it over is the original guy that had done the project. So to come full circle like that is pretty wild.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. So, a lot of people said that Vegas in 2008 kind of encapsulated the country.
Yeah.
Right. Because you saw the growth of Las Vegas and things like Fontainebleau. There was actually where Resorts World is. There was a property that was supposed to come in called Echelon. And that was,
I heard about that.
That was a Boyd Gaming. I was actually in Atlantic City at the time. I was supposed to come out as a shadow team for that. To help open it. But, obviously that never happened. Yeah. And then, so that goes away. Boyd Gaming ends up selling off when I think MGM came involved and everything. But Vegas has always encapsulated the, really kind of how the economy is doing. Look at Lake Las Vegas. Great example.
Exactly.
Right. So there used to be a casino there, I believe.
Yes, there was. There was a casino out there. Still not operating. I go out there every once in a while. We love Lake Las Vegas. It's beautiful out there. So we were just there just before Christmas. Resurgence, I should say, for Lake Las Vegas has been huge. They went bankrupt. A lot of people don't know that that project actually had gone bankrupt. They were planning a lot of stuff for that area. Obviously, it all got put on hold because, again, that was that. They started that project late 90s. Yeah. And then the massive expansion came in through 04, 05, like everything else in Vegas. And then, obviously, the preceding fall, they go bankrupt. And now they're flourishing again out there. I mean, beautiful houses, a lot of new construction happening out at Lake Las Vegas right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a whole, it kind of, again, it shows the resiliency of the city, right? And, everybody likes to party. Everybody likes to play. So Vegas has always been that option. I come from Atlantic City, so I was back there in September, and you kind of saw the opposite. Right?
Really?
Vegas, yeah, Atlantic City. And, Atlantic City was the Vegas before Vegas. It was America's playground at one point. It was the world's playground at one point. And they had World's Fair and everything there. And I went back. It's completely different.
Wow.
So, but what Vegas has done very well is they've really leaned into entertainment.
Yeah.
And, look at the Golden Knights. Right?
Yeah.
Look at the Raiders. We have new teams coming in, and I'm sure some others that will be coming in the future. F1. So
yeah, F1. That was the next thing I was going to say is F1. I know that there's a lot of locals that were very upset about some of the things that F1 did, but at the end of the day, I mean, several casinos broke records.
Yeah.
In-house records for the amount of money coming through the door. Yep. So for anyone out there that's local here in Las Vegas that, if you didn't like F1, I have bad news. They're definitely going to be back. Oh, and I don't think they're going anywhere when casinos are doing that now. I've also heard that F1 is going to be doing it earlier in the year, that they're going to do it a little bit earlier because so for, again, kind of inside stuff, but F1, obviously, they did super well. Athletics.
Yes.
The soon to be previous Oakland Athletics.
Yeah. I wonder, are they going to change the name?
I don't know. I think it'll be the Las Vegas Ace. I think they'll just keep it the Las Vegas Athletics. Yeah. Hopefully I hope he doesn't see this, but I hope the owner sells.
Yes.
The owner's been the big reason that they've done so poorly.
Yeah, that team's pretty underperforming at this point.
Yeah. We actually sold, there was a day, there was a day last, I don't think it was maybe it was last season. There was a day last season where the AAA here locally, the Aviators, sold over 6,000 seats. On the same day, the Oakland Athletics had a game and sold just over 3,000 seats.
Amazing.
So, and in fact, that's I've heard that the Athletics won't have a home ball field from 2024 to 2028.
Yes, they were talking about doing it in Summerlin.
Yeah, so they're talking about playing at the Aviators Stadium. Yeah, which will be, to host a major league team there was going to be pretty wild. That's going to be amazing.
I think that with how well the Knights have done, how well the Raiders have done, and of course, with the Raiders, you're going to get other teams coming to your stadium.
For sure.
I think football does it more than anything.
Yeah.
Hockey, the Knights, when you walk into the Fortress, the night, it's just, it's incredible. If you haven't been to a game, you got to go to a game.
Yeah. If you're a Vegas local and you have not been to a Golden Knights game, for shame. Yeah.
So what I really think, I think the city will kind of rally around the A's. The locals have really kind of stood in and want all the sports, the athletics here, and basketball. I think they're announcing
2024. Yeah.
2024 is at the next governor's meeting, maybe even All-Star break. I thought I heard All-Star break. They're announcing the next two teams.
I've heard that what they're waiting for is the collective bargaining agreement,
That's
the CBA,
the new TV deal,
right, and then the TV deal.
Yep.
So both of those things are supposed to happen next year.
Yeah.
They'll obviously encompass the new two teams. So the rumor going around is that Vegas and Seattle, just like hockey, are going to be getting two expansion teams. The interesting question now is it going to be LeBron or Shaq?
Yeah, LeBron being an active player right now, I think would be difficult.
Yeah.
Shaq's got people don't realize Shaq's a savvy
He is a super savvy businessman.
And, I think he would be able to pull it off. So we'll see.
I'm interested to see that so LeBron James was brought into Fenway Group.
Yes.
So that's the current rumor mill circling around, is that Fenway Group is going to get the expansion team. They're working with the Oakview Group. Oakview Group opened, I think it was 7 stadiums in 16 months.
Tim Lewicki? Yeah. So that was, when they talked a couple of years ago, there were different rumors on where they were going to build things, right? And it was the Oakview Group who down on like Blue Diamond and Las Vegas Boulevard, which also the high speed rail.
High speed rail that got funding.
Yep,
that just got funding a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and then there was the AllNet.
AllNet was going to be where Fontainebleau is. That little piece of land, right there. That was going to be AllNet. That is apparent. I've heard that is completely
done now. Yeah. So, but they were positioning for the basketball team as well, and I think there was a former NBA player who was trying to drive that one, but there wasn't going to be any gaming, right? So, but when I heard Oakview Group was going to be the one on the South Strip, you knew that's where it was.
That was, yeah.
You don't bring in a group like that unless, those guys don't come cheap, but they do it really well, and they do it quick.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. So I think when it happens, it's going to happen quick.
So I know we've talked about prices in 2024. I've been telling folks I think the peak of the market is going to be around 2030. And I say that because everything that's coming in 2028, right? Oakland A's Stadium is going to be finished right around that time frame. That's the projection.
Yeah.
Same with the NBA. Same. Well, I mean, the NBA, who knows? Maybe the NBA is even faster. Oakview Group, like you said, they've done it very quickly before. Yeah. But then the speed rail also supposed to finish right around that 2028 timeframe. Summer Olympics in LA, 2028.
Okay.
And I think that's just going to bring a ton of people into the area. I think that, one of the reasons that all these sports teams do so well, and this is something I was talking about even before they were here, was if you live in Columbus, Ohio, and the Blue Jackets are playing, the Knights. Is it still the Blue Jackets?
Yeah.
Columbus Blue Jackets? Okay. If they're playing the Knights, there's no better reason, right? If you're a Browns fan or you're San Francisco, right? A lot of those teams that are just driving over to see a Raiders game, to see a Golden Knights game, and soon to see athletics during the summer, NBA in the wintertime. We're no longer going to have an off season. A lot of people don't know that didn't live here, haven't lived here. For the longest time, pre Golden Knights, especially pre Raiders, the winter time in Vegas was pretty dead. Yeah. Basically from the holiday weekend in September, Labor Day. I can never remember if it's Labor Day or Memorial Day. Labor Day in September, right? So after Labor Day in through maybe mid-January was the slowest part of the year, pretty consistently.
Yep.
That has effectively gone away. We no longer have an off season in Vegas. No. You go straight through with football, hockey, and then now with basketball coming, I think there's just not going to be an off season.
Well, it used to be like convention season, right? You'd have smaller conventions during that time.
For sure.
And you'd go into CES, and CES kind of kicked off the new year, but yeah, it's driving everything in. And I mean, look at what is it, Sony, right? Mark Wahlberg and what he's doing with Sony and I believe Disney.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And that's South Summerlin. That's going to be happening there, Town Center in 215.
So I've heard there's two. So I've heard that. Again, all rumor mill stuff, take it with somewhat of a grain of salt. But I've heard that Sony has already agreed that if the tax cuts come through, tax cuts unfortunately didn't happen. I'd heard that the Democratic side had put in some poison pills, for lack of a better term, to that, and ended up crashing those bills, so they couldn't get the tax cuts this last legislative session. The rumor going around is that they will get those done this next legislative session, and that will effectively, Mark Wahlberg, for anyone that doesn't know, moved to Las Vegas, is now living in Las Vegas and wants to make, has come out and publicly stated that he wants to make Las Vegas Hollywood 2.0.
Yeah. I mean, what he talks about is he was in California. We obviously have a lot of people leaving California coming to Las Vegas, other states as well. But he just felt, from a personal standpoint, it was just a better place to raise his family. And then, wanting to bring, obviously, of tax benefits and things like that, bring all those people in. I mean, look at, a lot of the talk with the high speed rail too, is that if you can get to LA, essentially it's an hour into, is it Bakersfield?
So from Bakersfield to LA?
No, Bakersfield to Vegas with high speed rail. The talk is an hour or 45 minutes.
So yeah, Victorville.
Okay.
So it'll be about an hour to Victorville, and then about an hour from Victorville back into LA.
Right. I mean, it could take you 2 hours to go 3 blocks in LA.
I tell you what.
So now you can live in Nevada, have no state taxes, take a train into work every day. I mean, it's going to be a lot more people coming into the city. And the beauty is just desert.
Yeah.
Building. Keep
absolutely.
expanding. Right.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of room for expansion south and north. I think, we're in the valley there, so it does limit the size of Las Vegas, but I think that, again, kind of looking further out, Gene, Nevada.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of talk that Moapa will get a lot of that growth. Obviously, Pahrump has surged because of the growth of Las Vegas. They've been growing massively out there as well. So I think that Las Vegas is going to be, you know, I've been trying to tell folks, like, buy a place before you can't. Like, you think that prices are high now. A lot of the reason we have such high prices, and this is something I skipped over and I kind of wanted to talk about for prices of 2023, is just a lack of supply. A lot of people just don't understand how many houses we're short. The most conservative estimates for the United States are 3 million homes short. There's some estimates I've seen that we're short as high as many as 6 million houses.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, even at 3 million houses short for the country, that's going to take years and years and years and years of building, record building, because we're building at a pace right now that's going to keep up, right? We have to be building more than that, and a lot of affordable housing. So I don't see those problems going away anytime soon, and that's why I'm in the boat. You know, if we want to talk a little bit about 2024 and kind of what's coming down the line, I wish I could say I think that lower home prices are coming. I would love that for you. Unfortunately, they're not. We're not. And I think that even in a recession, and maybe you can talk to a little bit about this, do you see home prices? Let's say we go through like a regular recession, right? I'm not talking 2008. I'm not talking, you know, the Great Depression. Sure. A regular downturn. Do you see home prices following that same path?
So in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, correct.
I think that's...
Not for the nation as a whole, but in Las Vegas specifically.
Short answer, no. I don't see. I think and again, you have to take things in context. If a recession were to come, and a lot of economists are kind of split on this, right? A lot of people think we're in for the soft landing that the Fed was trying to do in the beginning. I would tend to agree. I don't see a way for the recession to happen. I think if they start cutting and the rates come down, all of that'll happen. I don't see. I think the opposite. I think home prices will continue to climb, and the reason being is really the affordability. Vegas, again, is very unique in the fact that you have a large range of incomes in this city, and you know unfortunately it's the ultimate of you have some lower income and really, really high income, and that's separated sometimes by a mile or two or a street at the end of the day. I think that we will see more of the California model where home prices will continue to rise. I think at some point we're in for another spike, to be honest, when all of those things happen that you were mentioning. So I could see that happening, 2028, 2029, 2030. We'll see a spike. You start getting more of the higher net worth individuals moving out here. That's going to drive more business. They're going to bring business, right? Yeah. When you start bringing out these millionaires and billionaires and such, they'll bring their businesses with them because of the tax advantages of that. So as they'll continue to build, and I think that people will eventually start getting priced out at some point. But it hasn't affected California, right? That's the one thing. The interesting thing about California is this: if taxes weren't as high as they were, home prices would still be high, and you wouldn't have people leaving.
Sure.
Right. What's happening in California is I think that they're in LA specifically, is they're starting to not industrialize, but commercialize these neighborhoods that used to be residential. And people are cashing out because they can't. I mean, you buy your house for $90,000 back in the 80s, and you turn around, you can sell it for $2 million now just based on the land. Yeah. And those scenarios seem crazy, but they're real. Yeah. We talk to people all the time that do it. So as long as the tax advantages of the state stay, I don't see the housing market going down, because we're going to have more people coming here. We're almost going to be the place that if a recession happens, people are going to move here. We're almost going to be that place that they're going to funnel to.
Sure.
Recession will cause people to leave the high tax states where your dollar doesn't go as far. Outside of the DMV, it can kind of carry you pretty well out here. So that's really what I see going into next year. Again, I'm not convinced that a true recession is going to happen. You could take it by what the actual term of recession means and all of that, but we're dealing with, it is foolish for us to look at, we're only in 2023, right? End of 2023. 3 years ago, we were in COVID, right? And I don't think people value that or really look at it as strongly as they should. Or I guess 4 years ago now, right? So 2020 all the way through. But that's not a big amount of time. And to see how high everything went, again, I always use the term regression to the mean. I think that's where we're moving. And 2024 is kind of coming out of everything that we saw at the end of this year. The end of this year was tough. Gas prices rising, goods and things like that. I think those things will go down because they have to.
Sure.
Right. And and really they should.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What was frustrating, I think, during the past year or so is that typically in a recession, businesses aren't doing well. It's usually why the prices go high, right? Or with inflation. And you had companies making
record profits.
Yeah. Absolute record profits. So, a lot of it, unfortunately, without getting political, a lot of things will hinge on the next election. I think that'll be good for the economy, honestly, because they're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
They can say what they want on the news, but at the end of the day, people got to go to the gas station. They got to buy the groceries.
Yep.
They see the price is high. They're going to go the way that they want to go. So unless that changes, right, I think that stuff will come down. But as far as housing, no, I don't see that.
I just don't think we have the supply for it. I mean, to go back to supply, I just don't think we have the supply for, there's a lot of folks that there's some stuff I've seen that there's effectively a poison pill in the rates, right? Because there's a lot of folks that would normally move up or move down, and those folks aren't doing that,
right?
Because they don't want to go from a 3% rate to a 6% rate.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I think the what's interesting right now, and I think the X factor on that is this: because of how the economy has been in the past year, credit card utilization, credit card debt is at an all-time high. If home values continue to climb and they don't drop, the other thing that we see is that equity in homes is at an all-time high. Now, in 2020, 2021, if you could get the lower rates, that was great. And a lot of people did. But some people had a hard time pulling out equity because qualifying, whether their job was shut down. There's a lot of COVID overlays, which are now gone from the lenders, Fannie, Freddie, and such. But now what I do think will kind of push us in that direction and force people to kind of look and reinvigorate the market, they're going to have to pay off all of this debt, right? Now, they're not the reason that 2008 happened was bad loan programs, right? People being upside down, all of these different things. Right now, the credit card utilization is what scares a lot of people, right? If you can have a 3% rate on your house, but if you're paying 25% on a credit card, and the credit card's maxed out, you got $600 a month, right? Whatever the case may be. And by note, you could have been great financially your whole life, but the past year or so, you've had to. They talk about kind of leads into, but they talk about the jobs numbers. They always talk about the jobs numbers going up and more jobs. So a lot of that is people getting second and third jobs. It's not more people being less unemployed. It's second and third jobs. So I don't see it. I don't see the market going down. I think it'll continue to climb. I think it'll be steady, especially I guess for those reasons.
Yeah, I see future growth just continued to as we continue to get those sports teams, as we continue to get the industry. We're already at near 100% capacity, no exaggeration, from the commercial side. Commercial warehouse, commercial space in Vegas is, especially the warehouse is, go out there, try to find something. It's near impossible. Yeah.
I think the economy is going to help this city. Whatever happens in the next year is going to be more beneficial for the city than less, right? If there's a recession, people are going to be forced and looking for other places to live. This is going to be a prime target for that.
Yeah.
We're going to have job growth, right? It'll force builders to continue to build, and that's going to lead to more housing. They're going to want to leave high-tax states and come to one that's more advantageous for them. So I think it looks great, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think as a whole, outside of the real estate, but just as a whole, this city is set for, really an invigoration and to move forward.
Of all this stuff coming, what are you most excited for?
I'm a big NBA guy, so I really want to see the NBA team. I love, our family will go to the Knights games. and my kids just love it. There's nothing like it.
Really is.
So, I'm excited to see a new franchise just because of how the nights went. See a new franchise come to the city and really get to call that our own. I'm a Sixers fan, but I'll be a Vegas fan for sure. So it's exciting. I think that's probably the biggest thing I'm excited for.
And I would agree. I think that the fact that the Golden Knights are our team, right?
Yes.
The Athletics, Oakland, the Raiders, Oakland. I mean, listen, I'm from Washington. I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm a Sonics fan, right? The Sonics apparently are going to be coming back. At least that's if everything goes right. I will be ecstatic to have an NBA team.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Knights, it has its own, that first season, right? Obviously the tragedy and everything that happened, and then I really feel like the Knights kind of help rebuild the city after that.
Yeah, agreed.
And then to make the finals, and now we turn around, we win the Stanley Cup last year.
Cup and 6, baby.
And it's really an incredible story, but I think it shows the resiliency of the city. More that it really does encapsulate the city better than anything.
And when that, I mean, not to go off on a tangent here, but that when the tragedy happened, when the October 1 shooting happened, to see the city rally around, I mean, one of the things that I was so impressed with is, I mean, it was a countless amount of people. If you went to any one of those, because my wife and I both volunteered, we were trying to do anything we could. When you went down to one of those places, I mean, there was too many people. I mean, there was literally too many people. They were literally telling like, we have enough people. We've, you can go home.
And for what's always been labeled as a transient city, right? To see it, I think not that the tragedy did it, but I think it brought it to the surface. It gave Las Vegas an identity.
Absolutely.
We were no longer the tourism city. We were our own city. And I think that was huge, right? Yeah. Kind of the turning point. So,
yeah. Okay. So just to kind of recap, 2023, crazy rates, right? Yeah. We went from, under 6 to over 8, over 8.
Just over 8, yep.
Right? Really helped to flatline prices. Some of the crazy things coming, obviously, the speed train, that's a done deal. Funding just happened for that, like we were saying. Rumors are that Vegas and Seattle are going to get expansion basketball teams.
Yep.
Oakland Athletics 2028, maybe playing in Summerlin as early as 2025.
Yeah.
And speed rail,
F1.
Talked about the F1, talked about the Sphere. We didn't even touch on the Sphere, man. No. The Sphere was, kind of its own thing. It's that's a marvel in itself. Have you been to there?
I've driven by it. I know a couple of people who worked in it to get it built. So, but unbelievable project.
Unreal.
Yeah. So it's just a lot, the city kind of seeing that growth
at
a time where no one's doing it.
Right. Exactly.
Right? We buck the trend. So,
and then for 2024, just a continuation of rising prices, especially if we see rates go back under 6%. If they go back under 5%, I think it's going to be crazy next year.
Primary housing, I think we should probably talk about it a little bit, but primary housing, I think we'll see rates probably high 5s end of the year. FHA, you're going to be there early next year. Right now, with some cost you can get into the 5s right now.
Wow!
So a lot of really good things there. It's going to help reinvigorate. There'll be recency bias. Hey, remember when it was 7?
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 now. So good things with that.
Good stuff. Awesome, Kyle. Appreciate your time. Looking forward to doing it again soon.
Appreciate it, Barry. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much. Real quick, want to touch a little bit on what we're going to be doing with the channel. So some of the things you can expect to see, we're going to be doing some food reviews and just people wanting to move to Las Vegas, kind of wondering about different communities, different businesses in the area. We're going to be doing business interviews, small business, really focusing on small businesses, mom and pop shops. So keep a lookout for all that.
Nice. And on YouTube?
I'm going to be on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We're going to cut out some of those from this podcast. We'll cut out some of those real usable sound bites, and it'll be on all the social media platforms.
Awesome. Definitely subscribe.
Yes.
Follow.
Yes. Follow, subscribe, like, share, blah, 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 blah. You know what to do. You know what to do.
Getting all the inside. I love it. Love it, man. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Kyle. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.